Climate. Most climates in Southeast Asia are tropical climate. In mainland Southeast Asia, you have tropical savanna climate, and this you have a wet and dry season. That is because those coastal mountains help block the monsoon wind from penetrating deeply into the inland. Also, those land areas a little further away from the source of water, so that is relatively dry and with distinct wet and dry seasons. On the coast, you can really see the west coast have on the coast you have a tropical monsoon climate, and the west coast basically is have a heavy rain because of southwest monsoon. On the east coast, you have a heavy rain because of northeast monsoon. In northern Vietnam and Laos, because of the northerly location, you have subtropical climate and also a distinct wet and dry seasons. For maritime Southeast Asia, mostly you see the tropical rainforest climate, with the exception that for the lesser Stana Island, you have the distinct wet and dry season. So those are the tropical savanna climate. In terms of a monsoon pattern, northeast monsoon is a continuation of winter monsoon from East Asia. But when they blow over to Southeast Asia, it's not as cold. Also, when it blow over the ocean surface, it modified and take up a lot of moisture and dump those moisture on the coastal area of Vietnam and the Philippines, causing heavy precipitation and giving rise to the tropical rainforest climate there. But it did not cause a whole lot of precipitation in the mainland and Southeast Asia. So that is a relatively dry season for mainland Southeast Asia. Southwest monsoon in Southeast Asia is the continuation of southwest monsoon of South Asia. It caused heavy rain in mainland Southeast Asia, especially on the west coast. For the entire maritime Southeast Asia, it caused huge amount of rainfall as well. But at the leeward side, further away from the west coast, the rainfall reduced in amount. Same here too. Precipitation in Southeast Asia is very high, larger than 60 inches per year for the entire region. Many places have 2 to 3 times that amount. Remember, St. Louis annual precipitation is 38 inches. So for all regions in Southeast Asia, the annual precipitation almost twice as high as the St. Louis annual precipitation. In terms of the temperature, the entire Southeast Asia is very warm. Average temperature higher than 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But the annual temperature variation may increase when you move toward the north, more northerly locations, also when you move to the upperland. Another factor that have an impact on the climate in Southeast Asia is typhoons, and this is the same thing as hurricane, and this is the same thing that has different names. In South Asia, it is called cyclones. In North America, it's called hurricanes. In East Asia and Southeast Asia, it is called typhoon. It has strong impact on the Philippines and Vietnam in late summer and early fall. Biogeography. Southeast Asia has an important biogeographical line here. This is called the Wallace line. This is a line is drawn by an English biologist in the 19th century. And later on, there's a German biologist by the name of Weber. He suggests that that line may be drawn somewhere here. So they may have some disagreement regarding exactly where you should draw the line. But the point here is that you have this important dividing line that divide two distinct ecological zones. To the west of this line, you have the assembly of organisms that closely relate to Asiatic species. To the east of this line, you have organisms that closely associated with Australia region. So to the west of this line, the typical animals are those tigers, leopards, elephants, bears, and monkeys, so on and so forth. But to the east of this line, you see those animals with the pouches, marsupial kind of animals. So this is really an important dividing line here. The reason that we have this important dividing line is that look at this map. This map shows that during the ice ages, the continental shelves emerge above water and connect with the rest of the land. So animal species can migrate along within those regions. But between those two regions, between the so-called Sahel and Sunda, there's still a deep ocean bodies. So those deep ocean bodies prevent animals from migrating across this zone. And that is what helped divide this different animal regions into the east and the west of this line. Major environmental issues. One of the most important environmental issues in Southeast Asia is deforestation. Deforestation in Southeast Asia happened during the colonial era when the river valleys were opened up as the site of a plantation for exporting cash crops. But since down the 20th century, especially since the late 20th century, we see increasing migration toward the upperland, and that have caused a large loss of a forest in the upperland area. Between 2000 to 2010, every year you have 1% of loss of a forest. Largely, those forests lost to commercial logging and farming. Farming is important to become increasingly important in upland because the increasing population pressures in lowland area pushing more people into the upland, and they begin to open more land in the upland. Those commercial loggings are either legal or illegal activities, and in countries such as Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia, those activities now today declared as illegal, as illegal, but still people still try to sneak in and doing it. Sometimes even the ministry involved in doing illegal logging. When those commercial logging become illegal and those activities become switched to Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia, and Vietnam in those areas. So those are the places where you see the loss of a forest in Southeast Asia. The major demand for those timbers from countries of East Asia, Japan, South Korea, and China. And those countries are close to Southeast Asia. Therefore, Southeast Asia become a readily available site of supplies of those tropical and subtropical timbers. Those purplish areas are the places that are suffering from deforestation. This slide shows that during the recent years, we see a drastic decline in the forest loss in Brazilian Amazon basin, but at the same time, we see gradual increase in the forest loss in Indonesia. This is really not a good sign for the region. Another problem of Southeast Asia, especially in maritime Southeast Asia, is forest fires and related smoke and air pollution. There are several sources of forest fires. One source is the purposeful burning. After you cut the forest, you need to burn off those debris so that you can use the land. Also, there are natural wildfires in places where grassland or places are just cut. During the dry season, it's very easy to cause wildfires. In addition, you have the burning and the smothering of peat soil. Peat is an accumulation of decaying organisms, decaying vegetations. Those peat has been there for hundreds of years, and they accumulate, they eventually become very hot, and they start smothering or even burning. And all this fire and the burnings eventually cause very severe air pollution and causing respiratory illness and even traffic accidents. So those are some major problems facing countries in maritime Southeast Asia. In summary, in this lecture, we discuss physical setting of Southeast Asia. We see for the entire region, there's more water than land. As for landform, in mainland Southeast Asia, we see mountain ranges, north and south trending mountain ranges, and between mountain ranges are the valleys. In maritime Southeast Asia, we see a significant fragmentation. As for major rivers, there are 4 major rivers in mainland Southeast Asia. They are the centers of a population and civilization. Most of the Southeast Asia have tropical climate and with distinct monsoon patterns. In Southeast Asia, there's a very important biogeographical line that divides Asian and Australia ecozones. Deforestation is a major environmental issue along with forest fire and related air pollution. Thank you very much and see you next time. Goodbye.